Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by Tim BitChute, the Liberty Advisor, and we've had nothing but good news for the most part in the cryptocurrency market lately, and I mean for the most part because I always am very cautious about saying we're in a bull market because I'm not quite sure yet, and you're not really truly in a bull market until you passed the former all-time highs. Nonetheless, we've seen for the first time since January of 2018, Bitcoin close above 13,100, which is very interesting in light of the fact that we have all these cases of, for example, PayPal integrating Bitcoin. By the way, I got banned from PayPal years ago for making a Bitcoin transaction. I expect to be put back on the platform. Not that I want to use those old money platforms anyway. But we also we saw a big boom thanks to that, though it was already on its way up after the halving from earlier this year. But I want to mention the Zero Hedge article as well, which says JP Morgan sees Bitcoin rising up to tenfold as millennials flood into the alternative currency. Now, I do want to point out that Bitcoin, JP Morgan said before the last run up, which was like 21 times, 21x back in 2017, they said that Bitcoin was worthless, and they were basically very bearish on Bitcoin, and now they're saying it could go up tenfold. So I suspect it's either going to crash or go up 20-fold. I don't know, but this is long-term projection because obviously a lot of things play into this. I want to get into this article though. It says, nearly a year ago, we highlighted a schism in generational views towards flat alternatives, whereas older Americans would buy physical gold and precious metals. Younger generations, including millennials and Gen Zers, would primarily purchase cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. To this point, Charles Schwab showed that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is the fifth largest holding in millennials' retirement accounts, including 401ks, with almost 2% of their assets tied to the success or failure of the largest cryptocurrencies. Now, in the article, JP Morgan does say that they're concerned about a major crash going forward and that it's not a safe asset, but they also say gold isn't a safe asset. So you take it or you leave it. It's JP Morgan, one of the most corrupt, horrible banks in the world that spoofs markets. Nonetheless, it's interesting for them to make any predictions such as a tenfold increase in the price of Bitcoin. Now, of course, they're leaving out another thing that it would include, inflation having a factor, having some play in this going down the line. But I believe that regardless of inflation versus the price of living, not versus the US dollar, Bitcoin will see a major increase in the coming years without a doubt. And of course, this is my opinion, not investment advice, but I really do believe that we are on the path to some redemption against these fiat currencies, and whether it can be used for good or evil is up to the market really and how we utilize the currency. But I want to go to Tim to talk about this right away. But first, make sure to hit that like button, hit the notification bell on BitChute. Of course, we were completely deleted off of YouTube for speaking the truth. And we're on simply BitChute, LBRY / Odysee, as well as Flote.app. We also have a Bitcoin address that you can donate to if you want. There's an address below, as well as a CoinTree link, which sends you to all of our different cryptocurrencies, which you can donate in. We're on GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar link below. We are 100% viewer funded, and make sure to join our newsletter at www.iamband.com. There's many links below, including the libertyadvisor.com, which you can go to if you want to become a client of Tim BitChute, who is a certified financial planner, who, by the way, integrates cryptocurrencies into the mix of his different packages. So I want to go to you, Tim. First of all, talk a little bit about this message from JP Morgan, and obviously the fact that PayPal is integrating Bitcoin, which could mean thousands of institutional investors can and big banks can integrate Bitcoin. What does that mean, and where do you think this is going?
Well, on the long-term horizon, I mean, I totally agree with JP Morgan. Not that I ever, that's going to be, taken out of context someday. Totally agree with JP Morgan. As I'm trying to get together my Jekyll Island documentary exposing JP Morgan. But anyways, on a long enough time horizon, I mean, I'm very confident in Bitcoin and, a few other cryptocurrencies. I mean, probably 99% of them are scams, so people need to, be careful of, what's out there. But on a short-term horizon, I mean, I think things are getting, a little bit more frothy, but not to say that, they were probably pretty frothy the first time we got to 10,000 in 2017, then we got to 20. So, who knows? But I do like to take a look at the crypto fear and greed index, right now we're sitting at a 75. Today is the 26th of October, 2020. And, 75 is the first notch in extreme greed. It was just a month ago that we were at 45, which is fear. And so if you take a look at like the chart over a long enough time horizon, it's very few times we've been above 80. And usually every time we're above 80, eventually then it goes down, much lower, as people, always, want to buy in when it's at a top, and they always want to sell at the bottom, always kind of doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. But, they do that in the regular stock market as well.
Right.
And so I would be, probably for the people who got in early, I also offer packages where, let's say, hey, you put $1,000 in and now you've got, 5 million. Here's a way where you could take some off the table. You can sell it into these certain types of trusts, avoid capital gains. It's really only good for like people who have like 7-figure type gains. So don't hit me up if you got like $1,000 you're trying to, shield or something like that. But anyways, so what's going on with this crypto fear and greed index? You've seen only a few times it's gotten above 90, a few times it's gotten above 80, and then you're usually seeing it go back down. So a lot of times, again, not, past performance indication of future returns, blah, blah, blah. But, when you're down somewhere like at a 10 or 12 or 20, that's usually screaming buy. When you're starting to get up closer to the 70s and 80s, then that's, sort of indicating more of a sell. But, if this is a big adoption type event, it's just whether or not, people are going to have extra money to invest, because you have, all this, economic calamity going on, whether it's, 30 million people unemployed or
okay. Well, with that said, Tim, with, all these people facing homelessness as well and everyone out of work, at the same time, we're seeing a lot of people moving their money out of their retirement plans. For example, I've had a lot of people message me lately about this as well. And they're talking about how they're buying up gold, silver, and cryptocurrency. And regardless of, the economic conditions, it seems regardless of the fact that no one has money, a lot of people are still, moving whatever money they have left into a lot of these things, because it's an apocalyptic type event. They know that there's chaos in the world, and they want to be prepared as prepared as possible. So, I mean, do you think that there's obviously a correlation between bullishness for Bitcoin going forward, not like short term, because, if the stock market crashes, which it will, it's obviously going to negatively affect Bitcoin for the short term, but long term, with what's going on in the world, do you think that's bullish for Bitcoin going forward?
Yeah, and then as a financial advisor who's been in the crypto space for several years, as a financial advisor and being able to offer people guidance in that arena, I do see people who are coming to me for that apocalyptic type event. This is not your grandfather's stock market grandfather's future outlook in terms of what's worked the past 20 years, not necessarily going to work the next 20 years going forward. And so unfortunately the US government does sort of have us hand tied, where if you aren't in it. So right now ideally we're sort of looking for accredited investors or many people that have over $500,000 to get into these types of strategies, because as a percentage the government, if we and it's not, and I think people should be able to invest however they want to. Just unfortunately, if I was a financial advisor and if somebody had more than 25% into this, the SEC would come down here and absolutely probably rape us, for lack of a better word. But yeah, we are seeing people who are putting retirement assets, other assets into cryptocurrencies, into gold, into silver, into gold mining stocks and the like. And that is something where it's you had mentioned cashing out or taking money out of 401ks. I honestly think it's probably better to have gold stored outside your 401k, so that way because you've got to have a custodian manage it anyways. If it's in a 401k, even if it's in a self-directed 401k or IRA, you've got to have some sort of custodian. And so all the same.
By the way, I do want to intervene just for a second there and point out that with Jim's strategies, you can hold your own private keys. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different with the gold than it is with than with crypto. So with crypto, you can hold private keys. So I'm not necessarily worried about the government being able to confiscate that. But with the gold, you can't store it at your home, even though there's people out there saying you can. But those people are not lawyers. Those people are not CPAs or accountants or other financial advisors or people who are selling these products. And then you've got the liability if anything goes wrong. And yeah, and a lot of those companies now are not touting that anymore. And so for me, I would rather if you were thinking of cashing out your 401k to put it into crypto, the better way of doing that is you can get into a Roth, because you're already going to pay the taxes if you're going to cash out your 401k. And so you might as well avoid the 10% penalty. And if you're going to pay the taxes, you might as well convert everything into a Roth. And that way, your gains are then legally tax free. There's no way for them to confiscate your funds because you are the one who's holding on to the private key. So that, unless, until they have, Elon Musk, Neuralink and, able to read your brainwaves, there's really no way they're going to be able to confiscate that as well. So I'm not trying to give them any ideas, but yeah, I am, we are positioning people for, that apocalyptic type of event, but also, on the traditional side of things too, we were engaged in strategies where we were buying puts on the S&P 500 while also being long the S&P. And so that way, when the market tanked a bunch, we knew that the most we could lose was the price of that option. And then when the market went up, we went up minus the price of the option. So basically what it looked like is in 2019 went up around 26% because the S&P was up around, 30. And then we were down, around 4% because, this year because the option cost around 4%. Now that was, at the worst of it in March. Now we're in a different strategy now going forward. But if you are working with someone that didn't really have that foresight going forward, then and know what was to expect, going, from knowing the past, how everything, shook out way back when, you're going to have a bad time going forward. Not to make this one, giant commercial, but we're just at the very, very precipice of financial advisors and registered investment advisories getting into Bitcoin, getting into crypto, and some are using that one fund that you had recommended. I can't say the name of it, otherwise I need to go into all sorts of disclosures. But the one that you were referencing, that is sort of like the easiest way for financial advisors to get into the space, and advisors are not going to recommend it because a lot of them don't have ways to get paid off of it. They don't understand it, and because they're not getting paid off of it, they're not incentivized to actually recommend it. And so that's just that's just how things work. But as we are starting at companies that are going to start catering to financial advisors, and there's some that and not like unofficially. I mean, there's some that I'm not really working with or consult. There's some that I'm trying to find solutions for my own clients to before I decide to go out and build one. But as we make this easier for financial advisors to get their clients into these types of things, and it's not just me and maybe one or two other people out there, then that's going to be a big catalyst to see the price going up. Because behind the scenes, you're seeing Fidelity getting into it, you're seeing other major banks getting into it, but not at like very large levels. And maybe it's something where maybe they start getting 1% to 2%, but you start getting 1% to 2% of at 20, I don't even know what the 401k market worth now is, but like let's say it's a 20 $30 trillion market, you start getting 2% of it going into Bitcoin, then that could be easily Bitcoin going up 10x type prices.
Right. So I mean, I do want to point out, as I always do with these videos, that you have to discern the difference between Bitcoin and a decentralized cryptocurrency versus centrally planned cashless society, and keep in mind that Bitcoin is math. It's math, and they're not going to hack Bitcoin. Maybe if they figure out quantum computing in the next couple decades, maybe they might be able to. But they're not going to hack Bitcoin. They can hack wallets. So be responsible with your money, like you are responsible with your wallet. But with that said, there's a difference between you could use a gun to slaughter a whole bunch of innocent people, and you could use that same gun to save all those innocent people from being slaughtered. You can use things for good and evil. And what they're planning at all these major central banks around the world is to create a centrally planned digital currency based in the fiat system. And fiat means by force, by law. It is the legal tender currency, and it's printed out of thin air. And Bitcoin will only ever be 21 million. They're not going to change that. But this is what they'll do. They'll if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's a bank. So if your money's always going through the banks via digital transactions, via legal tender laws, it's never your money. It's always a bank's, and you're enslaved to the banking system. So the difference is that you'll have a social credit score, forced vaccinated, all these horrible things, especially with the COVID-21 coming up, the new mutation that they're going to try and push to get everyone else into complete slavery worldwide. It's not that. We're talking about literally the opposite, the polar opposite of getting outside of that system, not being dependent on that system. And of course, you could track Bitcoin. So if you don't want to be tracked, then you could use Monero. There's different uses for different things. There's Epic Cash as well, which is a privacy cryptocurrency that you could get into. That's really low market cap, by the way, right now. So I mean, it's worth pointing out that there's differentiations between these different kinds of currencies. When people just blankly say cryptocurrency or digital currency especially, that is where there's a lot of problems that arise. And I would direct people to James Corbett's video on the Bitcoin PSYOP. As far as this video goes, I think it's extremely informational and one of the best videos out there ever on cryptocurrency, just for beginners. The Bitcoin PSYOP by James Corbett. So I highly recommend people check that out, because it totally breaks down the differentiation between all these different things. I also interviewed James Corbett about this back in February, which is up on our library still, and I believe still to some degree. I think it's somewhere on BitChute. Obviously, we got our YouTube channel deleted for talking about the truth, so that stuff's all gone. But again, you can become a client at Tim Picciot's at thelibertyadvisor.com. I believe we have a lot coming up on the near horizon. I do believe there's a very good potential for Bitcoin to fall back to $8,000 or $9,000 US in the near future. But I think that the bottoms are going to be higher than the previous bottoms. And I do believe that due to the halving as well, and the scarcity of the amount in circulation and the amount people are buying up and the volume and the institutional investors integrating it, and, you know, Safeway's having those coin machines where you can buy Bitcoin. Any person at the convenience store can buy Bitcoin as long as you get your slave mark and your mask and walk around like a slave. I mean, the fact of the matter is we really do have a big opening in the future going forward to enter into this industry. And I do still think it's still only the beginning. And I said that back in 2014, and everyone laughed at me when Bitcoin was like $100 and something. And we know where it went from there. So anyway, it's not even as much about speculation and making a bunch of money off of it as it is about keeping yourself safe from a dollar crash, which I do believe that Bitcoin is better against dollar crashes than it is against stock crashes. Anyway, we'll get into this much more in the future. I appreciate you joining us today, Tim. There's lots to talk about as always on this, and we're going to get some big names as well from the crypto community, and we're going to do a show hopefully soon with Tim and all those people on this subject and take your questions as well. So I look forward to doing that. And elaborating on this more in the future. Anyway, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit the notification bell on BitChute, and make sure that it goes through to your email so you can get emails when we post new videos on BitChute, as well as on LBRY/Odysee. They've been actually good about, updating people when we post, unlike YouTube, which only gave 0.1% of the tens of thousands of people that click to be notified any heads up about our most recent upload. So I'm really appreciating BitChute, LBRY/Odysee, and Flote.app right now. Of course, go to Twitter and go to our pinned tweet at World Alt Media, and retweet our pinned tweet about being deleted off of Twitter, and let Team YouTube know how you feel about censorship. Anyway, obviously there's a bunch of links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar. We have a Bitcoin address. We have a CoinTree link with all of our different cryptocurrencies. We have our newsletter at www.iamband.com and all the other stuff. Got a million things in the description. Just scroll down it. You'll find lots of stuff there. Anyway, I appreciate you going into this with us, Tim. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Tim Picciot signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Thank you for watching our recent video. Behind me is the Jekyll Island Club, which is where the Federal Reserve was formed. And so in addition to making content and in addition to making different YouTube videos and library videos, I'm also a financial advisor with a great track record. 2019 we got almost all the gains of the S&P 500, and then when everything hit the fan in March of 2020, we had almost none of the losses. What I'd really recommend, if you have not seen it, is check out my speech where it was given February 11th down in Acapulco, Mexico, uploaded to YouTube February 19th, and at the end of that video I did a little GoPro commercial, sort of like I'm doing now, that was ad-libbed, where I told people what the investment strategy was. I told people that what we had did is we were long the S&P 500 while also buying put options on the S&P 500, and what that meant was that was how we were able to get this, because I knew the market was going to either keep going up because of Federal Reserve money printing, or it was going to collapse because reality would actually set in. So, how many advisors actually protected your clients against that? I mean, I would say hardly any of them. So unless you were in a position where, you made almost all the gains last year and didn't really participate in that many of the losses this year, then you don't have a reason to call me. But, if that's not the case, then I would go check out the website, thelibertyadvisor.com, where you can book a time to talk with myself and to get a free consultation to see if we can help put you on a better path. Again, that's thelibertyadvisor.com, and thank you very much, and hope to talk with you and your family soon. Take care.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.